Hi guys, SwampFox here. Today I'm going to show you some cool tips and tricks you can do while modding your SKSs. First and foremost, I get this question a lot, which is how the heck do you get a PSO scope onto a Tapco SKS? It's actually pretty easy. You just need to buy an OP SKS as well. You're going to open up both of them and just take the bodies off of each. And then we're going to swap them. So now your Tapco SKS has a little dovetail mount on it, so you can stick a PSO right on it. From here, I highly recommend swapping out the buttstock, as the one that it comes with only has 32% recoil reduction and 3 ergonomics. But if you get an MOE stock with the butt pad, these will add up to 39% recoil reduction and 8 ergonomics, and they don't cost that much at all. Also looks kind of cool. So stick those guys on there. Now we're looking a little better. Next, I would, for a grip, I'd recommend one of these three. If you want to get the maximum ergo reduction, you could get the Cobra Tactical. It gives you 11% ergo and only 1 recoil reduction. Or RK2, if you want the most recoil reduction out of it. And then for a good balance, the RK1 will give you 4% recoil and 7 ergo. This is the little angled one. This is the one I prefer. I think this kind of gives you the best of both worlds. Slap that right on. Throw a suppressor on it, because why not? And then you can get the little MPR 45 backup mount. That'll let you put a reflex sight on it. That kind of gives you this little canted sight to switch to on the angle here. So now you're pretty much ready to rock. This thing's about as modded out as it'll get, and looks pretty sweet. I think this one's ready for a quick field test. I would just take the rear sight off too, because you can sell it for a little extra. You don't need it anymore. Get rid of the old butt stock, and it should be good to go. So here it is in Raid. Got our long range option, and I specifically prefer the PSO scope that has that larger chevron in the middle. That's, if anyone's wondering, that's the PSO IM2-1. The other two have like a super small chevron in the middle, so I don't prefer it, but maybe you do. And then you can swap between your long range and your short. So this gun's a little bit more on the expensive side, but this will definitely do a lot of work, especially if you're a solo player.
Good one!
Now, if you really want to go all out, you don't have to use a PSO scope for your 4X, since you now have the dovetail mount on here. You take your PSO off and put a Cobra mount on, the Axion Cobra mount here, and that'll let you put your other long range sight of choice, such as this hammer with the delta point. Since this particular optic has a backup, you could remove your canted, save that for later. This would also let you put a laser on the side or a flashlight, whereas normally it would kind of stick on top here, but either one works. So by default it goes on top. The hammer is tall enough though that it'll see right over the top of it. Let's try this guy out real quick. So this may look a little goofy, but it actually is quite effective. Your lasers, because the laser's on the top instead of on the left side, it's aligned with the barrel pretty closely, so it does appear to be right in the center where we want it to be. I don't know how well you can see it with the secondary optic underneath that red triangle, but it's spot on. So that's actually pretty cool. I've never actually used this one in a raid before, but I might give it a try.
Marvelous!
Now, if you're on a bit more of a budget, there's a lot you can do with the regular OP SKS. The first thing I like to do actually is get the UTG SOCOM rail mount. This, especially I like this for interchange. This is going to let you throw a flashlight on your gun, or lasers. Let's get it on the bottom here. Also, it looks pretty cool. With the SOCOM rail mount, this will also allow you to use a reflex sight if you would prefer, so you don't have to use something on your dovetail. Or you could go all out like the other one we just did and have a backup mount and a long range. But either way, I think this is a pretty sweet gun. I really like the flashlight for interchange because there's just so many dark stores to search for loot, like loose loot that you will otherwise miss, and players hiding in corners and stuff. You can even blind people. Like, this is a pretty cool build. And if you want to get real crazy, you could build a little short-range beast here, even off this regular SKS. This guy, pretty much you can't put a sight on it except for if you have the SOCOM rail mount. But if you want to go nuts, go nuts. So we've got a little high riser sight so we can see over that fourth laser. Obviously this is pretty absurd, but it's kind of fun to mess around with in factory if you have extra money or if you're just kind of waiting on the wipe and just want to do something fun. Allow me to demonstrate.
Tourist finished. Enemy down.
So we've got some pretty sweet builds here. This is not all you can do to the SKS. If you guys are ever wondering what else like fits on your gun, if you right click the weapon itself and hit link search, it's gonna filter out all the stuff that'll fit directly onto the weapon itself. So it'll show you all the magazines, different like the dovetail, for example, goes on the OP SKS. But then more specifically, if you want to know what would go on, let's say the dovetail, for example, you want to link search from the dovetail mount itself. And this is going to instead show you all the stuff that'll clip right onto a dovetail. So you get this like super high riser thing. You can get this cheap little Cobra guy. This thing's pretty good if you like having a little red dot on there. Same thing goes for the SOCOM rail. Right click, link search. There's actually a lot that can go on the SOCOM rail though, so because this can hold 4 gear mod slots, so it can have like a pile of flashlights or lasers, and it'll show you all the reflex sights and stuff that can go on it. As far as muzzle devices, your only choice is actually the suppressor here, or just nothing at all if you want to go loud. So for the suppressor, you'd gain 2 recoil, and you lose a little bit of ergo and accuracy, and obviously you keep your sound profile down quite a bit. The suppressor for this gun costs about 40k on the flea market, so it's kind of up to you. If you can fit it in your budget, I recommend using it, but if not, it's not the end of the world. Next, I just want to talk about ammo real quick. There's not as much to mention with 7.62, but if you're a new player just starting out, I would definitely start with the middle option, the PS ammo. That's got pretty good damage, decent penetration. It's going to rip through class 3 armor, so Karasas, Untars, basically any mid or low gear player, and basically any scav. This ammo is extremely cheap. It's about 92 rubles a round. From there, I wouldn't change anything. I would just use PS all the way until you can use the BP ammo at the top, 50 damage and 45 pen. That'll be a little more competitive with late game players and higher end armor, but these rounds, if you don't have them unlocked through Punisher Part 5, which can take quite a while, then they cost about 400 rubles each on the flea market, so about 4 times as much as the PS. So definitely only upgrade to those ones you can afford them. The PS should get you pretty far. The other ones really just aren't worth it. The T45M is a tracer round, and it doesn't even have as much pen as the PS. Costs about the same. The subsonic US round, since the game doesn't really have subsonic like incorporated correctly yet, since you can fire anything through a suppressor, they're really not worth buying at the moment, just because their pen is so low. And then same thing with the HP, like the pen is just way too low. Hope you guys found this video helpful. Please make sure to like and subscribe for future content, and drop by the Twitch stream anytime if you'd like to chat or if you have any questions about the video.